What up, little legends? This is Kamer the Gamer coming at you with the 9.18 TFT patch notes. This is the first time you'll see me with my new haircut. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Should I grow my hair out again? It's an endless cycle, so I probably will anyways. But let's move on to the patch notes. Alright, if you guys are anything like me, the reason I like to look up the patch notes on YouTube is just to get a brief overview while I'm on my way home from work. Maybe I just want to listen to remind myself of the changes before I get into some games. So this is going to be brief. We will talk a little bit about the implications that these changes will have on the meta, but besides that, it's going to be very factual and more of a reference guide on the changes within this patch. So a lot of what's changing is really happening right here. The new stuff. What we're getting is a new mystery box system for the new loot system. What you'll be getting in these mystery boxes is gold, champions, items, completed items, as well as Nico's help. I'm sure you guys know about Nico's help by now. Essentially, it's a consumable item that gives you a 1-star copy of that unit. This will help you in building up to a 2-star or maybe getting that last unit that you need for a 3-star. One interesting thing to note is it does only mention spatulas in the rare boxes. So that is interesting. I wonder if there will be even more of a shortage on spatulas. Sometimes it feels like spatulas are very rare. Sometimes we have abundance of spatulas on the carousel. But maybe this will rein in the spatulas a little bit. It does say that every player will get approximately the same amount of boxes and approximately the same amount of items. So that is good to know. There was already a comeback mechanic with TFT and the items that you would get from the PvE rounds. So hopefully this balances that out even better. So there's a couple changes in the actual format in the framework of the game that comes with these new mystery boxes. Riot is saying that there should be an increase in gold or an inflation in the economy. So along with that, they're also increasing the amount of experience required to get to some of the levels later on in the game. Specifically, we see increases of 2 experience in 5, 6, and 7, 4 experience in level 8, and an additional 6 experience for level 9. There's also some changes in the drop rates for each tier of champion at some different levels, notably 3, 5, 6, and 9. At level 3, you'll get an additional 5% chance to roll a tier 1 unit, and that's taken away from the tier 2 units. At level 5, you have a 2% decreased chance to roll a tier 1, but a 2% increased chance to roll a tier 4. Level 6 is an important change because you can no longer get tier 5 units at 0.5% chance. Level 9, we see an increase from 10% to 12% on those same tier 5 units. Riot has decided to reduce some of the champion pool sizes. Specifically in this patch, they're reducing the amount of heroes in a tier 3 pool from 21 down to 18. This effectively removes one whole 2-star unit from the tier 3 pool. This whole section is just a quality of life change. People were stacking items that weren't supposed to stack, so they were effectively wasting this item. I don't see anything in here that was exploitable. So if there was anything that could be exploited, I missed it. So I think it was more so to protect the player. We did already know that the Morello Nomicon and the red buff wasn't stackable, so this is just reinforcing that information. They did also add new 9-piece synergy bonuses to assassins and sorcerers. For the assassins, the 9-piece bonus grants 225% crit damage and a 40% crit chance. The sorcerer 9-piece grants 175% spell power. The wild buff is probably the most significant change to any class synergy in this patch. Now with 4 wild, in addition to the stacking attack speed buff, now your units can't miss. This could be huge for any players who like to play Yordles, Shen, or they like to prioritize the Phantom Dancer. We know that this ability to have basic attacks not miss is something that is going to be removed from the RFC. However, those item changes are pushed back to 9.19, so I don't expect this to be a very meta-changing buff, but it will give more weight to choosing 4 wilds in specific scenarios. We have some general trait adjustments here as well. One thing that stood out to me was the increase in the Elemental's Golem armor, fondly known as Daisy. Daisy was already pretty beefy as an additional frontline unit, in my opinion. So if you needed a frontline unit, you could throw in Elementalists and they would give you a frontline unit. So effectively increasing Daisy's armor by 100% seems like a really big buff, and we may see even more Elementals in this patch. Knights at the level 2 and level 3 synergy bonus level got a buff, which is good for those of us who like to run an early 4 Knights combo. And the Assassin jump delay was increased. Now we've arrived at the champion changes. This patch seemed to be relatively light on the changes to specific champions. A lot of it seemed to be more tweaks here and there of starting mana, attack damage, things of that nature. One thing that I really do like to see is Graves' armor is increased from 20 to 30. I always like to put my Graves on the front line with the disable items such as a Swordbreaker or a Hush, so this makes that strategy even more viable to me. We get a buff on Elise's Spiderling damage as well, which is only 10 damage buff, but at 3-star Elise, that's 40 damage effectively since she has 4 Spiderlings. We see some changes in mana for Kha'Zix and Pyke, which effectively will change how fast they can get their first ultimate off. Twisted Fate saw some buffs to his blue card and his health, although some critics are stating that blue card was fine and it's the red and the yellow cards that should be tended to. We see some nerfs on Eve with the execution threshold lowering from 65 to 50%, as well as the execute multiplier from 357 down to 345. Katarina's mana cap is lowered from 100 to 85. This allows her to get her ultimate off quicker and maybe a second time in the match. We see some pretty generous changes to Akali's ability damage from 150, 275, 400 to 250, 500. Anivia's ability duration was lowered from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, which is a buff to the damage, but could be a nerf to the disable. And then we see Pantheon continue to get downgraded from 1000 to 850 health and 80 to 75 attack damage. Some notable item changes are the BF Sword attack damage went from 20 down to 15. Frozen Heart debuff duration went from nearly 3 seconds to 4 seconds. They buffed the Locket of the Iron Solari from 250 to 300 and from 6 seconds to 7 seconds. Swordbreaker chance to disarm was increased from 25% chance to 33% chance, but the disarm duration was lowered from 4 seconds down to 3 seconds. This is another item I use a lot in my Graves composition, and I think this will buff that strategy even further. They've also increased the Zephyr Banish duration from 5 to 6 seconds. There were a couple important bug fixes, namely those to Brand with Morello, Rek'Sai's healing, as well as the Demon Synergy and the mana cap not working properly. Other than that, it's a lot of tooltip changes and some of the ways that Camille's ability was interacting with other champions. Alright guys, that's patch 9.18. What do you think is going to be the new meta this round? Given the changes in the looting system as well as the experience changes, I think it's too early for anyone to make definite claims. However, I do think that we will be seeing a surge in strategies revolving around the tier 1 units, possibly an increase in the Void Assassins. And this is because you just have more gold readily available to roll for those tier 1 units early on. Besides that, one of the effects I think this patch will have is that Pirates is going to be used even less. With more gold being available to us, I think the gold bonus from Pirates is going to be just less valuable. There's still going to be some compositions that can utilize it to scale well into late game, but I think that Pirates might need a buff here soon, at least maybe increasing the minimum to 1 gold per pirate chest. Anyways guys, I hope you liked the video. Again, this was a quick reference guide. Please let me know what you think below. If you would like me to go over the patch notes in additional detail, let me know and I'd be happy to do that for you. Till next time, dab on the haters. See ya!